I recently made a post on the Reddit where I was going over the changes made between the D&D characters of my current campaign from the old models to the new models, and I was also showing how they appeared in Roll20 with a filter from top down. So with this video, I wanted to I wanted to go over, at least briefly, what changes were made between the old models and the new models, and maybe give a little bit of insight into how it was achieved. So, if there's a pretty big campaign. There's 9 characters as you can see, and there's 2 boxes for each character, old and new. And I can go over one of the ones that had the most starkest differences, which would be uh, Rathalo, which is the party's druid. Now, in this old one, you can see this is, with no offense meant to the original maker of this. He's a very good friend of mine. This character is fairly bare bones. The colors that are used are all very basic. There is no decals applied to the face. These are just baseline eyes. It's a very standard expression. But the issue that I take with it is actually the overuse of the color green, in the sense that you would expect the green to be placed on the leaves here, right? But then when there's also green in the hair, green in the magic, green in the cloth straps, the entire point of the green leaves begins to disappear. And they no longer stand out as much because everything is just green. And so because of that, when I made this updated version of the character, I enforced a few differences to the best of my ability. Now, I will note immediately that I do not have full creative control over how these characters looked. I was the one who made the models, but I made them with the direction of the people who RP these characters. And with that said, the poses are also stiff by intent because they need to fit into a Roll20 from top down, so they need to fit into a tile. And because of that, I can't have these poses be too. I can't have their arms flailing about all the way over to Narnia, because frankly, it just wouldn't fit into the tiles then. So moving back onto the topic, then the first thing I did was I made the hair brown, because if the hair is green, it's going to clash with the green leaves. And I also made the cloth that she wears more brownish or grayish, as you can see here. And with that, the only part that actually remains green is the leaves, because as you can see, the magic here is also no longer green. And although she is a druid and nature mage, or whatever you would call it, the she earned this weapon in D&D, and it has some kind of weird moon magic. I don't know. I'm not the DM. I don't make the rules, but suffice to say, the point is that with this magic now being kind of white bluish glow, it no longer clashes as much with the green on the rest of the character. So now the green has its place. Everything that's green is, it's a leaf, or it's naturey, it's something along those lines, and everything else is a completely different color. Aside from that, there's just been some very basic texture updates. I mean, you can see that the brown is no longer as bright, it's much dirtier and darker. The face has had some updates, she's a little bit prettified, I guess, but at the same time she has some dirt over her, so it's not like she's a shiny supermodel or whatever. I placed some dirt on the feet because she walks around barefoot, and also she has her little bird companion here. And yeah, that's pretty much it as far as Rathalo goes. So, oh right, yeah, there's also like some minor details, like a scar on the hand, etc. But aside from that, moving on to one that is not so stark of a difference. This is Breakthor Abraham, which is the party's first dwarf we had. And this model, honestly, was probably the one that needed the least work, because it already looked pretty good from the beginning. In the case of this one, I actually made the original model as well. This was quite a while ago, so there were some parts of it that were a little bit outdated. But I was always quite happy with how this guy turned out, so when we made his update, it honestly, there wasn't all that much that changed. the main thing we did was we gave him a more alive pose, you know, like he's a bit more expressive now. There's more to him. You can see the anger of this dwarf and the pride with which he carries himself, and we've added a shield to his back and the book to his side and things like that. But aside from that, and a few minor changes, like a few texture updates to his clothes and giving him different boots with steel caps, etc., it is pretty much the same as before. Which moves us on to, let's do DD. So in the case of DD, this model was originally based on artwork, which I can probably show you. But the thing about this model is that it also looked alright. It was very awkward from above because of this pose. So what we did with her is, first of all, we changed the pose, but we also changed the armor because she actually upgraded in the D&D campaign. She got herself some like studded leather or something like that. So the first thing she got was an armor upgrade with the new Tundra legs and the new Tundra chest piece. We changed her pose to be a little bit more dynamic, so now she also looks better from above like this, and she hasn't got those flailing arms with the wine bottle and the other bottle. You know, it's and now, you know, Dee Dee's a bard, right? So it makes sense that she would be, you know, carrying her ukulele or whatever this thing is, doing her thing. But aside from that, not all that much changed about Dee Dee. We kept the face paint, we kept the overall color scheme, so she just got a nice little update. But as a whole, it's pretty much the same character. We can do my own character here, yeah. This is Gunnar of House Gunnar, Gunnarsson. I am Swedish, and this character is originally from Norse. For anyone who's into Warhammer lore, that's the Scandinavian place, pretty much. And this old model, I mean, you can tell this model is. Although it is old, it is outdated. I would change a lot of things if I made it now. It is fairly up to date still, because I mean, this was my own character, so it's no secret that I put a lot of effort into trying to make it look decent. But since I knew he was going to get an update eventually when he was getting plate armor, when it finally came time to doing it, I went all out with as you can see, he's dropped a lot of the fur things, right? Because he's now meant to be wearing full plate, so he looks more like an imperial warrior. And also I have used the double model trick here because these as you can see, if I took away these legs on the main model, the legs of this tabard leg piece is very thin, which is why I put those on. Because frankly it just didn't work. Even though it's not really visible from above, it still would have bothered me knowing that he was wearing like tiny skin tight legs and then these massive plate boots that would just look dumb. But the main purpose of this, again, is just to look decent from above. That's the purpose with most of these when you're trying to make models for Roll20. At least, I mean, some people use tokens, some people use top down. You know, it's up to you. But the main thing here was trying to maintain some kind of Viking look to him while still making him look like a, you know, European knight. And the only thing I've used for that pretty much is this, you know, this fur cloak, and it does add a lot, I think. Even though everything else about the model no longer really screams Norskin, this fur cloak definitely does. So it helps to keep the character what it is while still, you know, overhauling pretty much everything else. Aside from that, though, not all that much changed about him. I mean, I did a face update. I mean, you can see here like the one fresh scar on his eye here, with the white of the eye being more red, and then the older scars here more faded, the eyes being normal, etc. But aside from that, it's pretty basic. Um, Now, this is probably my favorite one that we're moving on to, which is hunchlimburger. Now, you might mistake this character for a meme character, but you would be wrong. This this little guy has murdered like 20 orcs with one spell once. I witnessed it firsthand. But yes, I mean, you can see the model is pretty outdated. There's again here, like with Alice Rathalo, there's a lot of base colors that are used that haven't been edited or changed at all. The face is intentionally made to look pretty questionable, I think. But I mean, he does still have the glowing frying pan of destiny. That's something, even if the lighting positioning is a little bit off with his pose. So there's a lot that's messed up here. And if we go to his new model, here you can see, first of all, the lighting has been adjusted accordingly. I mean, there is an invisible light bulb here, and you have to position this very specifically. So if I move this up, suddenly the lighting is somewhere around here instead, and it's shining down on him. And if I move this to the side, now the lighting is on the same height, but now it's around here. And it's meant to look like he's coming out of this magical frying pan he's got. Aside from that, the changes we've made to him essentially is just, I mean, you can see he's no longer nearly as colorful. We've grittied up all of the colors pretty much, and he's now got armor because he upgraded in the D&D campaign itself. He's got this weird kind of ramshackle looking gear. Still got that huge ass belly though. He's got mismatching boots because, again, this character is you know, for lack of better words, a bit of an idiot. He's got that weird little prepubescent mustache and the sideburns and the, you know, this face. I don't even I have no words. But and then of course, top it all off, he's got this British World War II helmets. You know, this is hunchlimburger. He undeniably the coolest looking character of the party, I think. But aside from that, not all that much changed with him. I mean, I say that, a lot did change. I mean, I even went as far as to put grease stains on his arm because, you know, he's also a chef, as you might be able to tell from his name. So, moving on to Khagur longbrow. Now, this is the newest addition to the party, and this model here is, as you can see, it's using a lot of baseline colors, which I never like, and God forbid it's using themes. Never ever use themes. I hate it. I hate it so much. So when I remade this model, you know, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't. For one of the older models, it actually looks pretty decent. But when I got access to remake this model, I immediately took away all the themes. Now this pose, I'm gonna be honest, I don't like it. I'm not the one who settled on this pose, so don't blame me for it. It's for the sake of being able to show this massive axe, which, you know, apparently is really important for this character to have a massive axe. I don't know if I agree, but aside from that, the things that I changed was I gave the steel just a pure gray steel instead of the blue tinted stuff. I changed the color of the tattoos. I updated his face to give him a bruise and some scars. More angry look, I suppose. I changed all the colors on the clothing because, and thank God I removed the themes because God forbid those fucking themes, man. But yeah, that's pretty much it. No huge changes here, just a little overhaul as well. Um, Regis. Now, this is our party's rogue. The old Regis model is a little bit monocolor. Yeah, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but as I always say, I dislike the baseline colors. However, I was also asked to keep pretty much everything the same about it. I wasn't allowed to change all that much. So for his model, I took all that brown and I made it black, and I made the cloak a little bit starker. I put a pistol in his hand because although this guy, has swords and daggers, he actually mostly fights with a pistol. In Roll20, when we're actually doing D&D, he's usually just sat back shooting things. So basically, I made his clothes black. I made his I gave his cloak a pose where it would show more because the red cloak is pretty much the only thing that really pops for this model. And I put a scar on his face, gave him that secret agent look. I reduced the size of his eyes, make them more realistic, and I put this gun in focus. I stretched his arm out a little bit. You can see the arm length is a little bit longer here to put emphasis on this, and then the sword being held behind his back to show that he's at the ready. And as you can see from above, this model would look something like this, which looks pretty good in Roll20 actually. It's not all too complex, but it's a nice little overhaul. Now this is the old model for the party's Bretonnian Knight, which is also a paladin in terms of D&D rules. Now this old post was obviously very stiff for the sake of fitting in from above like this, but the old colors, I actually think were very nice. Like I like this shiny, bright steel and the blue and the orange. I think it's very colorful. It fits that whole French aesthetic that the Bretonnians go for. So I don't actually think this one was that bad, even if it did need a little update. And in the new one, I was asked specifically to change the color scheme. Well, I didn't change it technically. I was given the updated model like this and asked to work with it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the changing colors, like the red and the white. I think this looks more Imperial than Bretonnian now. But aside from that, I did get to update the helmet and the trim and I also used a double model here. As you can see, I have the paladin's legs at the same time as I have the chainmail skirt on top of it. I obviously changed the pose to something much more dynamic, so now when he's seen from above, he's looking like this, and by angling the shield a little bit upwards, you can now see this logo even whilst he's stood like this. Now another thing I did with double model is I put down an extra necklace. You can see a little bit of clipping here, unfortunately, but the lighting is making it hard to see as well. But I put down a necklace, and this necklace was meant to glow because it was some big important D&D artifact. So I put this glow inside here. There's an invisible light bulb here, which means that against this shield, you can see here it's reflecting against the sword edge, it's reflecting against the chainmail, against the armor and the helmet, and against the shoulder pad here. It's all reflecting, so you can kind of see this divine light coming from inside him almost, and that goes a long way in making him feel more like a paladin. But yes, that's it as far as Soral de Morian goes, And that moves us on to the final one, which is Tallinn. Oh, it's no secret. Both me and my DM fucking despised this model with a passion. There's just I, I, the painted fingernails and the weird bright cloak and the neon orange look and the mismatching hair colors and the creepy pale smile. All of this is just, it's disturbing. He's meant to be a bright wizard, which for anyone who isn't a Warhammer fan is basically fire mage. But yeah, we did not like this. However, when I set out to change it, I also wasn't allowed to change some things. You're gonna see that unfortunately the fingernails are still gonna be there. I petitioned to have them removed, but I was not allowed. This is the updated version of Talon. Now the first thing you might spot is that this is using the double model. It's got the same legs, but because this skirt only allows you to have really thin, ugly legs, I use the double model to have these baggy pants, and then the double model is also the one which has the this over-the-shoulder fur thing and this scarf. Aside from that, I dulled down all the colors because when just like with the Eldest Rathalo example, right? If the colors are really bright, then the magic isn't going to stand out. So I dulled down the colors of the robe so much darker orange, and I put a basic dirt decal on his hand, just like with Eldest Rathalo. I colored it bright yellow, flamey, and I put one of those invisible light bulbs, made it glow orange, as you can see here, A enabled. It glows on his face, it glows on his clothing, everything, so you have this orange glow perpetually shining on him. And of course, I made his hair and his his goatee on fire as well. So yeah, this one, in terms of from A to B, I think it's safe to say that Talon is probably the one who got the biggest upgrade, if only because his original model was so horrendously ugly. No offense to the original maker, actually, I mean full offense. But yes, that is it. Now, as you can see, we have the whole party here. We have the dwarf, we have the goblin, we have the druid, we have the fighter, we have the warlock, we have the slayer, or the barbarian, I suppose it is, the rogue, the paladin, and the fire mage. If you like this video, then press like. If you dislike this video, then press dislike. And goodbye.